Yeah, baby.
Oh!
Yes! Yeah, baby!
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
And this is how you get things started on the Sport SFC of San Juan's International Billfish Tournament.
Robbie, I am fired up watching these guys catching these big billfish. You know, Puerto Rico is a breeding ground for big marlin. They come through here, and that is the Zane Gray Trophy. Look at that beauty.
Everyone trying to win that Zane Gray Championship trophy, but they can't do it in just one stop. They need to battle throughout the season, and that's what makes it so special. We bring the best competition. It's a 3-day event. We've already finished day number 1. We're kicking off day number 2 this week for the Blue Marlin.
It sure is, Robbie, and the bite is always close to shore. You can go from 1 mile to 3 miles to 5 miles off the coast, and you can go 30 miles in that swath to fish left or right, east or west.
About 120 boat slips. Half of them are empty right now because we've got about 60 boats out there on the water. And as you mentioned, they don't have to travel very. And we will crown a champion tomorrow and somebody will receive a $1 million prize and the Zane Gray Championship white sometime. We are on site with Site 1. Beautiful.
Everyone was celebrating and kind of wiping. Gorgeous. I'm talking monster boats. But this is interesting. This is the first year in 69 years that this tournament is allowing center console boats. We all know that the center consoles I might be here next year for this tournament.
I thought we saw your boat out there a time or two, but I think it's being built right now. The numbers that we've seen, I know we had 19 yesterday. That's the most we'd seen on any day 1 of the tournament. We expect
There's always going to be a time where the bite turns on and the radio is going to get cracking. And that's exactly what happened up near the fads, off to the left, off to the right. But the boats were kind of concentrated on those fads, and they were catching the fish. There were about 20 fish by the time I came in. I landed and got to meet all the guys, and they talked about their fishing and how great it was.
And we'll talk about the weather conditions, the strategy on these guys. But let's go out of the 55. But Salvador Ahea, one of our first catches of the tournament. And again, we have several featured boats that we follow out there with our cameraman, but each one of these teams is required to stay in constant video.
There.
Tranquilo, telling him to calm down, make sure you don't get too feisty.
You could.
Yes, this is an international event. It's not just Dominican, Puerto Rican teams. There are teams from all over the world that have competed in the International Billfish Tournament.
You know what's interesting about this four-corner, and you know, depending on where the fish are biting that day, you're going to get your shot in that spot.
Think that's going on. The other guy can still keep it on, but it's the first guy who has the fish. He's in control of what that boat does and how they bring it in.
And with that,
it is already a qualified catch the moment they make contact with that leader. Now they're just trying to get back their lures because this isn't just a live bait tournament. There are some live baits out there, but oftentimes these are artificial lures that they
catch and release. These guys were one of the first in history to do pure catch and release, circle hooks, everything for conservation.
Again, eco-friendly, trying to release that fish to be caught again.
They keep it pumping, and that fish is digging deep, and they're laying sideways, and it's not a big marlin, but I tell you, when you're likes that lure, and they know they're going to redeploy that lure and catch another one, hopefully.
You're crazy if you think that's not a blue marlin. If I catch that, that's a big marlin. But yes, we have seen much bigger, but they all count the same, 350 points. Salvador Ahea on Panama Jack with a fish, and tell me about that flag.
Well, that flag, they call it laundry. You know, you hang your laundry on the out. You could do it either way. It doesn't matter. Everyone's releasing fish here, right side, downside, whatever. It's all
the show. We're always looking for that first catch, Peter, because we know it's worth $350 catching a blue marlin, but catching the first blue marlin.
Little beer. That's about an 8-ounce beer, if I recall, and you can drink those really fast. They stay cold. You drink them down, and it just tastes and feels great. Just like this blue marlin fight right there. He's
last night at the
but I'm of age, so
knows it too because they have to radio in. Not Puerto Rico. The International Billfish. Now we still have that two-way tie on top. Drill Hound and Side Boat caught that, but again, it's a 3-day tournament. You're not going to win it on day.
SFC coverage of the San Juan International Billfish. And by Smith Optics.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise. with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Remember, everything begins in the morning. Every story told is a fisherman's tale. We build watches tough enough to be a part of that tale. The perfect balance of beauty and brawn. We are Seaholm. Watches that last a lifetime. Seaholm Automatic, the official timepiece of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
See it, live it, love it. The largest in-water boat show in the world, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. More than 3 million square feet, fishing boats to super yachts, engines, accessories, learning experiences, and culinary delights. Save the dates, October 26th through 30th. Details at flibs.com.
It all comes back to the water. This binding agent. This fluid history of connection. Past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
SFC coverage of the San Juan International Billfish Tournament is sponsored by Yugo, by Sword Fishing Products, and by Fish Razor.
I can promise you those fish razors are going to be used out there on the waters right now trying to win this prize. The SFC champion will walk away. Actually, this trophy stays, the Zane Gray championship trophy stays here in San Juan for the International Billfish Tournament location, but he will have his name forever in history tied to that trophy. Again, we've battled throughout the season starting several months ago, and we will hand over that trophy, Mark Neifeld, tomorrow at the end of competition. But let's talk about our championship fish, and specifically the Yellowfin Tuna Championship fish by Invincible Boats. Second wins Drew Phillips back at Biloxi, stop number 5, 206.9. Peter Miller, that is the biggest yellowfin tuna I have ever seen.
Robbie, we talk about it every time. That is their biggest yellowfin that they've ever caught, and they've been fishing their entire lives. So this is a really solid fish. Look at those sickle fins. I love it the way he's standing in the shade. I wish we were standing in the shade right now, but that is some fish. And they said he's a really good angler. When you talk about anglers, it's all about how you can do those short pumps and get that fish up to the boat. And that's exactly what he did in about 45 minutes.
And here's yesterday's catch alerts. Look at some catches throughout the day. We already have a couple today, and we'll see those as well. And you mentioned that with Drew Phillips talking about, with the fuel prices and things like that, $50,000 helps. It goes a long way towards your championship. Made a big deal for them and that team. But again, they were catching fish throughout the day, and usually right around this time, 10 to say 12, and then later on, like 2 to about 4, there seemed to be windows of opportunity, and 8 to 9 fish were being caught.
That's right. It's all depend on the moon phase. It depends on the current. It depends on the water clarity and color. It depends on the plankton. It depends on so many different factors. As you know, you look at the Hilton Navigator, and you could find all of those things out, and that's exactly what these guys do. But the fads are the secret sauce.
Day one at about 10:15, I think there were 6 fish caught at that time. Euphoria, actually maybe the 7th at 10:10. We've got 2 already on the board. We'll see them pop up here in just a moment. But what we're hearing out on the water right now, because they have to talk about when they do actually hook up, because there's a time limit. There you go, day number 2, Ana Marina, as well as Jen Pole Aid with 2 catches a day. There's 3 boats on the water right now with hookups. Can they get them in? Can they get that qualified catch?
That's right, and that's what I like about these tournaments, that you have to report the hookup. You can report a fish up in your spread. You had one in the teasers, or you lost one, or you caught one. So everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing. There's no secrets. You're catching fish. You got to report it, and everything is well monitored.
They all took off from Club Nautico this morning. They left the mouth there at the end of the fort at 8 o'clock, so they've been out there for a couple of hours. But look at these red arrows pointing down. Some of them are they're all actually tied to the ground, but some are floating, some are submersible, some you see up on the top. But these are fads. Fish aggregating devices. I call them attracting devices because that's what it does. It brings in those bait fish.
Yeah, aggregating, attracting, it's the same thing, but it's, the real name is aggregating, but it's easier to say attracting. We'll just call it
that's what it's
they're
trying to
attractive.
do, right? It's like one feeding the other, feeding the other.
That's right. It's a chain of events, and you can see that these boats are sitting near the fads. Some of the fads are subsurface, so the big cruise ships and the tankers, and they can get past these things. So they're 60 feet under the surface, some of them. We had the Gale Force twins go out and take a peek at them the other day, and they dove down 60 feet just to take a look at these fads that are subsurface.
We'll talk to them in just a moment. Team Caramba, it's a 64-foot Briggs. Rafael Calderon, the owner of that boat. You got Emilio on board, Juan Jose, Victor Garcia. This is looking back on them yesterday. Our cameraman Jesse basically lives with them throughout the day, and that's one thing about this tournament too. Some of the Gulf Division events, we saw them go out, stay out for a few days. Here, they're back and forth each night. It is an absolute festival, a festivity of events.
It was great seeing the cameramen last night at dinner. That's not something we've seen before. And we're watching these teasers. You see that fish up in the teaser. That's the moment where your knees start to shake, your hands are getting a little, sweaty. Palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti. Here comes the marlin. It's on that teaser.
And that would be some type of daisy chain, squid, something in there trying to direct them.
Here's the switch. This is where they want to switch. He's going to pitch that bait. You can tell he's dropping back right there. He's about to lock it up, or he may have.
So once he's locked up, that fish has had it for a while.
Yeah. That's the key. You want to be able to have them switch. That's called the bait and switch. You tease them in with that teaser, you bring it in, and immediately you deploy that bait right in front of them. They have no choice other than to eat that bait that you've deployed.
And you see the other anglers, if you don't have a fish on, your boat, angler 2 and angler 3, you actually have to reel in as quick as you can to give that guy the full opportunity.
I would secretly wait about another 7 seconds. It's kind of like, when you're fishing out in the lake and everyone's like, all right, bring him in, we're going home. I'll be like, no,
I may have one.
They're calm. They're very calm.
And this is Team Caramba. They're looking for an ay caramba.
You see how they're still in forward. They want to stay tight. They can't back down when the baits are still out, so they brought everything in. The fish is going away. They're going away, and then they stop, and then they judge how they're going to back down on this fish. And now they're slowing down. He's pulling drag. Everybody's calm, and now it's time to figure out when you're going to go back.
And now Victor's a rock star. He knows he has one on. He's on the Sport Fishing Championship. The world is watching how well he does in the Sport Fishing Championship here in San Juan.
That's right. He's on CBS Sports Live. He's on Sport Fishing Championship Live. He's live. He is alive and well, and he's got a marlin on. He's got to be feeling good about it. Okay.
Now, typically, and again, we're watching this as it happens, but, typically, we've seen guys.
That's when you say, ay caramba.
Yeah. Very calm on the boat. They had their moments. We've heard other teams before, Cervecita saying, tranquilo, calm down. We're seeing that. Let the fish do what it does. Don't pull him down deeper.
Yep, and he's giving him a little shoe bath. His sneakers were a little stinky. He's kind of backing down hard just to get him cool his feet off. And that feels really good. That's about the level I could deal with. I've had it up to my waist, up to my chest, and it's not a good feeling. We've seen bad things happen when the water comes in that big. That's a high water alarm, and you don't really want that.
Now, the weather yesterday, and again, we're looking back at yesterday's catch for Caramba. The weather yesterday, a little choppier, a little more movement with the air. The day prior on the pre-fish day, it was slick calm. There weren't many being caught. But we saw 19 total billfish caught on day number 1 here at the IBT.
These marlin get pretty angry. They see these lures coming across. They see these baits coming across. They're angry. They want to take a shot at it. But on a calm day, they could really see clearly. You want to use lighter line. Changes your whole approach. Nice fish.
And he's running right to left. And that's a perfect example of why those other guys bring in their lines.
That's exactly it. And the captain's going to spin that boat on a dime. He's going to spin backwards and chase him in reverse. You want to try to keep that pressure to a minimum when that fish is going away like that. That's when you don't want to pump. You want to stay calm and let him pull.
You see the captain of these boats are facing backwards 90% of the time. They're looking constantly.
99% of the time.
99, probably you're right. And it's amazing. You think, Captain, he's steering that boat forward. Oh! What happened? Ay, caramba!
I think we have a terminal tackle failure there. He was putting some major heat. They already got the release, and a lot of times you want to redeploy the baits. Get it done.
There's a moment that we did not expect. And now they can laugh about it. The captain's actually videoing him.
Angler down.
What just happened? Ay, caramba.
It's easy to grin when your Marlins come in. He's having a good time. He's fine. I think he was happy that he got the release, but he put a lot of heat on that fish at the end to get that catch so they could redeploy and catch another one. That's a good-sized fish.
Let's point this out. Victor Garcia, right? Victor Garcia with a catch. It is a qualified catch. Is the moment that they do touch that leader. So everything's good until it's not.
And you can see how these fish kind of come back and they charge the boat. They do these big circles, but he had major heat. I think he was palming the spool there trying to get that fish, to get it done with. But, every now and then you're going to have, I can see the rod. Yep, we got a little snappage there.
Oh.
And that's not a cheap rod, Robbie.
No.
That rod is a custom rod. That looks like about a $1,500 rod there at least.
We talk about how they're not supposed to necessarily lay into him. I mean, he was right there at the boat laying into him. They weren't worried about that too much, but a great catch. The release, good. His departure, not so good. Victor having some problems. We have no problems on site with Site 1 at Club Nautico. About 120 boat slips, and half of them are occupied right now because the other half are out there on the water fishing at the 10th and final stop of the Sport Fishing Championship. Welcome, everyone, on set here, and we couldn't ask for better scenery. Look behind us. I mean, how long do you think that boat is? It is crazy. I mean, we're talking 100-footers.
That's a 100-footer.
100-footers or sailboats with masts I've never seen that are that tall before. But the thing is, when it comes to fishing, you want to go out there about 1.5 miles, and you're in prime blue marlin territory.
That's right. That's what's so beautiful about fishing in Puerto Rico. You are so close to the bite that you can't not want to go fishing. I mean, there's a possibility. Some guy said to me, Peter, after your first episode on the Sport Fishing Championship in the morning today, right after this, maybe we go out and try for one. I don't know if he was kidding or not, but I'm hoping that he shows up and takes me out for a couple hours. I'm looking forward to it.
We've got a couple hours for our flight on Sunday. I think we need to go back out there. Yellowfin tuna. It was my birthday yesterday, and I had the best birthday present ever.
Happy birthday, Robbie.
Damon Sacco and Mark Neifeld came back in. They caught a yellowfin tuna, and I was eating yellowfin tuna sushi within a couple of hours of catching that fish. But it just shows you, what was Field of Dreams baseball game was like a week ago. These fads are like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. These fads are being added to the area. Brings those bait fish. The bait fish bring the big fish, and you bring the tourists. You bring these anglers that you cannot get any closer to shore and catch blue marlin than this place.
That's right. The fads bring the billfish to the yard. It brings the bait fish to the yard, and then these billfish come up to eat those bait fish. Robbie had he didn't have sushi. He had sashimi. He was eating that meat right off the boat, straight out the can. It was Robbie's birthday. Happy birthday, Robbie.
Thank you, brother.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you, brother. We've got a lot to talk about here on the Sport Fishing Championship. Again, we said just a moment ago we have reports of 3 on the line. Will they be qualified catches? We'll soon find out. We're in San Juan, Puerto Rico. There's our featured teams out there on the water congregating in general areas. They're going to be running those fads. We'll talk about those fads because we know 2 young ladies that actually took a trip out there and they saw up close and personal what these fish aggregating devices are all about. The Gale Force Twins, when we return to the Sport Fishing Championship. Boy, that water looks cold.
Performance, comfort, and functionality. With your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Sometimes saying no can be really difficult. It's hard to set boundaries, to give yourself space and time. Hop water means never having to choose between having fun or missing out. A sparkling hop water full of flavor and packed with mood-boosting benefits. It's non-alcoholic with no calories, no carbs, and no sugar. So go out there and get up to no good.
Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
In Puerto Rico, we call ourselves Boricua, a unique name honoring our island heritage and the vibrant spirit of our people. When you bask in the warmth of our beaches, when you taste the love in our food, when you embrace the call of our adventures, you'll find that spirit in yourself. Dare to live every moment. Live Boricua.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
SFC coverage of the San Juan International Billfish Tournament is sponsored by Vineyard Wind, by Cypress Cove Marina, and by Invincible Boats.
Let's take a look back with Smith Optics, and we're going to look way back at all of our stops, and we kicked it off the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. Peter, we have different winners, or actually some repeat winners throughout the season, but it all started, what, April? I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it seems like just yesterday, but it truly was a long time ago. A lot of fish caught, a lot of boats, a lot of guys, a lot of food, a lot of events, and this has been absolutely amazing, and this is the finale.
Moncherie taking the victory there. We backed it up with Doña Lucy. I mean, a last-minute charge. In that last 3 minutes, they caught their final fish to win that tournament. That's the most exciting moment of the year for me.
Yeah, that's a big moment when there's only a few seconds left or a few minutes left, and they get that fish to push them over the top. It's always exciting.
Half a buck taking the win in Northeast Florida, repeating, doing what they did the year prior, but now for the Sport Fishing Championship and an Atlantic victory, but quantified. Now we see them starting to turn it on. After a 7th in Louisiana, they come out and get their first win of the Gulf Coast Masters.
Turn it on. They've been turned on. They've been lit the entire time. Quantified has been all over the place, and they ran 2,000 miles from Texas to come fish this event in San Juan.
It just takes time, and it took a long time for them to get here. It just takes time winning at Mississippi. But you saw the multiple wins for Quantified. That's why they're in the lead. That's why they're in the hunt for this Zing Gray Championship trophy. And already this morning on day 2, Anna Marina released a blue marlin, and we also have a catch for Jinpol Aid with another blue marlin. The odd thing is here, now while we're at 19, 20, 21 blue marlin, and there's no other species. We're not seeing any sailfish, white marlin. We saw so many white marlin back at the CNSD in Central Domingo.
Well, you know what that tells you, Robbie, that they are the apex predator in this area. They don't have time for anybody. They scared everybody out. They're aggressive, they're mean, they're angry, and they're powerful, and these guys are catching them. They're over 20 billfish caught.
We saw a little bit about that fad footage just a moment ago. Let's welcome the Gale Force Twins on site with Site One. Welcome back, ladies. The weather, good weather follows you everywhere, but it's not raining like it was yesterday.
It seems like the good weather does follow us everywhere. And even though it's hot here, we've actually heard a lot of people complaining about how hot it is, but being from South Florida, I know you too, Peter, you probably think this is great. I mean, you're wearing a sweater. It must be close to 90 degrees out.
I'm wearing sweatpants too. I got water dripping down my back, but I'm used to it. Like you said, Florida, very humid, just like Puerto Rico. There's a lot of rain, the humidity comes, and all of a sudden that breeze kicks through and it cools you off.
I'm glad somebody else is busting on him on what he wears. But look, I want you to notice his Salt Life gear. He's got some old stuff. I want to point out a few things for our fans. You got the extra perforations, but look on the shoulder here. I said, Peter, you got some coffee stains or something on his shoulder? And he goes, nah. This shirt's 4 years old. I've been with Salt Life for a while, and I've got blood stains.
Yeah.
This is from actually catching fish.
Yeah, I actually wear all these, and I throw a bunch of bleach in the wash. Most people don't believe me, but I throw that bleach in there, whether it's color, whether it's white, and that blood comes right off these Salt Life. If I get blood on there on the boat, spray it off with a hose. Love this stuff.
The other trick is to soak the clothing in OxyClean in a bucket for like 12 hours overnight and then throw the whole thing in the washer.
Trademark, Ricky Bobby.
Learning something every day. Hey, ladies, we saw you at the Fads, and we'll see a feature tomorrow live at 9 o'clock in the morning on CBS Sports Network. But pretty cool experience for you. There's some things to look at, and while you're down underneath the water, I mean, you just don't realize how fast that current moves. I mean, I was fishing around those Fads, and I had no idea that the current was that strong.
The current was definitely really strong, but a little fun fact is that we found out that it actually is not normally that strong. So that day it was around 6 knots, and Benny, the research diver that was with us, told us that normally it's, what, Amanda, maybe only a couple knots? Last night at the Taste of the SFC dinner where we were tasting all the food from every different place that we have been, Benny was there and he's like, I have to show you a video of what the Fads were like today, because he had gone out and he showed us a video, and it was just, they didn't need any rope to hold on to. You can see we're holding onto a rope, holding hands, because if we let go, you were going flying backwards. It was, you could use all your strength to just stay near the Fad, and usually you could just hang out around it. You don't have to hold on to anything, and you're good to go, but we had ripping current out there.
Yeah, well, how strong was the current?
They said it was around 6 knots.
That's
was
like impossible to do
absolutely.
anything.
It
Well,
was
you
so
see
strong.
them right there, Peter. I mean, they're hanging on for dear life. If you would have let go, they'd have had to fired up the boat and picked you up.
Well, they're athletes, Robbie. You know that. They went to University of Miami, both pole vaulters,
All
correct?
about the U, correct.
I went to the
Pole
U as well.
vaulters.
Oh, my
I mean,
gosh.
I'm proud of you girls for representing, and it's impressive that you guys got down there in 6 to 7 knots. So what did it look like? What did you see when you were down there?
It was nothing but blue. There's so much blue that I could not even necessarily tell you how good the visibility was, because you looked out and it felt like you had 100 feet of visibility or more. I mean, it was just so crystal clear. We saw a ton of bait fish, and like the biggest fish we saw though was a triggerfish. We were hoping to see some mahi, some tuna, barracuda, maybe
sharks,
a marlin would have been nice, but with the currents and everything, we actually took 3 tries to get down to that Fad. Well, we got it in 1 try, but our guide took 3 tries to get that rope on so that we could actually just climb down with the rope. So it probably spooked away any of the big fish that were there, but we did see.
And you didn't try every single Fad. This was just one particular Fad.
This is just one Fad.
Yeah, this is one Fad, and they're not everywhere. And moving around, I know every time. So when I went fishing with Matt Klosterman with the SFC, the moment we were getting around those Fads, whether it be submersible or whatever, the guy was like, all right, let's get our tuna rods out, because that was typically, what could be had. I've only been offshore fishing so many times, but I saw, and in talking to the group around here, I saw more flying fish than I have ever seen. I saw probably 1,000 flying fish. That's another bait fish for some of our species.
Robbie, I love it. You're becoming a fisherman. When you say 1,000, my wife would say, Peter, you mean like 100? I'm like, I don't know, like 250.
No.
You started at 1,000, you got to work your way down.
I'm telling you. No, I promise you, I probably saw 8,000 fish. I'm not kidding, and I'm not telling big. It was this big. It was huge, but I mean, did y'all see the same thing? I saw more activity on a calm, clear, slick day when there shouldn't be. I saw more of those flying fish than I'd ever seen.
I didn't see a single flyer. Did you see a flyer?
My
I
God.
did not see
You
a
were
single flyer
so
out there,
full of
but
it.
I do believe that you did see them, because we do see them quite frequently when we are going offshore, but not on that day specifically. Maybe the current was so strong those flyers were just lazy.
It was probably the wind. The wind gets them up. They flap their wings.
You know what you got to do? This is for the guys in the truck. You got to make it snappy. You say make it snappy, the flying fish. Make it snappy. It comes in. It's a great restaurant in Little Rock, Arkansas.
That's right.
Ladies, thank you. The things that you've been doing throughout the season have been pretty awesome. I mean, you get to see a lot of stuff that most people don't have that opportunity to do. Do you have any favorites?
I definitely have to say my personal favorite is probably Cape May. We got to go clamming with Hannah, a biologist, and she showed us really what it's like to be a local there. She took us to the mud flat, taught us how to go clamming, and we actually got to eat them that night. Amanda, do you have a favorite? Oh, I would actually say my favorite was also in Cape May. Cape May was just such a great tournament, and I love that one. And for that one, we got to spend a day with the Coast Guard. Yeah. So that was so cool. We were able to go out there. We both got to each drive the Coast Guard vessel. We had 100% control of the boat. Nobody else was driving, and they go, you do this? And I was like, it's all on me. And they're like, yeah, we trust you. So we both got to drive the Coast Guard boat, do a practice man overboard. We got to pull Oscar the dummy.
Oh, that Oscar was hurting. I
saw
the way
was
you
a
were
heavy
pulling.
lifter. I remember you told your sister, you said, wait. Everybody
Yes,
stop.
everybody's going
Let's
so
do
fast.
1, 2, 3. And you pulled this thing in. It must have been 500 pounds. And I saw your quads just like rippling. And
Remember,
I thought, wow.
they're athletes, Peter. It's unlike you or
But
I.
there's one thing I'm a little hurt, because we did go sail fishing together, and we did catch a doubleheader sailfish right before we started this show in April. So how about that?
That's
Come on,
true.
talk
That's
about
true.
that for a minute.
That was like the tee up to the whole
Oh,
season.
man.
So I should should have said the double-header sailfish with Peter. That was the real highlight of the season.
Collar up a little bit, Peter.
And we got it on the drone, too. The drone on both fish. That was pretty spectacular stuff. You guys did a great job, and it was fun fishing with you guys. And it's really cool to watch you guys do what you did this season, to follow in your adventures and everything else you guys are doing on your channel. Gale Force Twins just killing it.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Doing a great job. Let's talk about things happening out on the water here at San Juan, Puerto Rico. Not too far from Club Nautico. They go out, make that right, and you can either turn left for 30 miles or right for 30 miles. But as far as going north, you probably aren't going to go past about 5 miles. Team Rising Suns and Angela. Yep. Why is it Rising Suns / Angela? It's because Rising Suns did not want to make that trip here, and I don't blame them. I mean, think about Quantified. They said it was 2,300-mile boat ride to get to this point, Peter.
That is a run. I mean, come on. If you're going to take your boat here 2,000 miles, I mean, that is a commitment.
Absolutely. So Angela is the local boat that they partnered with. And again, I wouldn't want to make that run, and I'm sure Jimmy didn't either.
We were recommended to the guys on the Angela from some mutual friends, and since we were so high up in the points, we decided to come over and fish the final one, see how we could do in this. We're just coming over here to have a good time, and hopefully we can have some good luck and maybe give Justin a little run for the money.
SSC has been amazing. Every single tournament was nothing but fun. Normally we're fishing around rigs or big weed lines at home, and over here it's a very different style of fishing. They have a few fads right off the coast about 2 to 3 miles out. Instead of live baiting like we do with tuna and bonita, they actually use naked ballyhoo, and they drag 4 teasers or 2 to 4 teasers. And when we see a fish come up at the teasers, then we'll pitch a bait to them. So it's really different than what we're used to, but we're definitely adapting and learning new things that we can actually bring home as well.
One of my favorite things about this team right here was that I got a chance to meet them last night at the banquet, at the SFC banquet, and got a chance to pick their brain and talk to them about everything they've done throughout the season, this family event for them. And boy, Jason is quite the angler.
Absolutely. Jimmy Crochet, instead of being the captain of this event, he actually gets to be an angler. How cool is that? Instead of telling everybody what to do, he gets to be a part of the program.
Oh yeah, those cabins come down out of the off the bridge and they get fired up. It gets you got to tell them to calm down a little bit because they're not used to being in the cockpit.
Again, looking at the Sport Fishing Championship leaderboard as it is right now for Drill Hound and Saudi Victoria. They're the only multiple catch boat for the tournament so far. We still haven't had reports that the 3 boats that were hooked up, did they get them in? We had 2 misses earlier. And Peter, that's really important on tough catch days or tough catch mornings, the execution. We hear it at every tournament.
Well, you know, it's a simple thing that can happen. You know, the fish comes up, he gets spooked by something. Maybe the line hits him, maybe the lure doesn't look just right, and he kind of looks around at everything and might fade off. Or maybe he comes up and it gets wrapped around his bill. Maybe the circle or the J in the hook gets on the tip of the bill. They don't like that one bit. So honestly, you want to be able to get him with a lure in the corner of the mouth, or you want to be able to pitch bait and just drop it right down their throats, catch them in the corner of the mouth as well.
Take a look at our catches. Cervecita with the first catch of the tournament. Awesome job by them. No problems. They grabbed in the Cervecita. In case you're not familiar, it means like little beer. A little 8-ouncer, but a great job by Javier Berrios. First catch of the tournament.
That's that extra 100 points, and once he touches that leader right there, it is an official catch, and that's what you want.
We expect many more catches from these teams today as well as tomorrow. A full day of fishing. They had took off at 8 o'clock this morning. They will check in this afternoon at 5:30 p.m. That's when they have to have their lines out of the water. But it was high fives all around for Cervecita. Cranking it in there was Panama Jack. We saw them earlier as well, and that's laying it to them right there. And you see that big fish jump in a distance.
Oh, yeah. And you want to bring all those lures in before you back down, Robbie. That's really important to just clear the spread. And like we talked about, you know, the first guy to hook up is the guy that has control of how the boat is going to maneuver to get that fish. They want that lure back.
Yeah. Salvador Hale and that 50-foot Viking Panama Jack. I believe no affiliation with the suntan lotion, although I could use some sunblock on my feet right about now. It's supposed to be 89 degrees. And Team Caramba. We saw a little Ay Caramba at the end, but they were backing it in because they had a blue marlin on the line.
They were backing it down. Robbie, you always say backing it in like you're backing like a trailer into the garage or into the warehouse. These guys are backing down, not
my
in.
Country buddies would say, come on back, come on back.
Come on back.
Come on back.
So this fish right here is going absolutely berserk next to the boat. And
The run is unbelievable. It's only about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe to get to prime fishing grounds. And
Man
there's
down.
what you don't want to have happen. Poor Victor Garcia. He got the 350 points.
It reminds me of the movie Honey, I Married an Axe Murderer when he says, "Piper down." We got a Piper down.
Got a pescador down.
He looked like an orange on a toothpick. He's fine. You see, he stood up like that. He popped up like
they were laughing.
Like there was nothing to it. Everyone's joking. That's good to see, you know. He's got a hard head. He's obviously done it before.
You get to see him tonight having a cervecita.
That's okay.
He's got a hard head. Let's watch it again. Look at the bow and the rod.
Doink.
And then what happened?
Wow. Slow motion does wonders for TV. I love seeing that.
Wasn't near as violent as the first time. He was slow motion, but it just shows you how much bend and how much pull. Everything you didn't want to have happen happened to him at that final moment. But it was already a qualified catch. They will get that 350 points, and maybe they will have a pop and a win and maybe take home the title here at the IBT, a prestigious event. It's the 69th running of this event, Peter.
That's absolutely incredible, and they've got 20 blues. We've got multiple hookups. We're waiting to find out who those boats are and if they're catching them.
They're all hunting for that Zane Grey Championship trophy. We have some of our SFC teams that are in the field without a catch. I don't think it's going to stay that way. Quantified, one of the teams to look for is Zero, Rising Suns. We have several, Bandito out there, all with a chance to win that Zane Grey trophy. And Quantified, I want to tell you here, they can't hear me out there on the water. He says if they're going to be struggling with these blue marlins, he said we may actually go looking for sales. We've seen them do it before. How about this be a sailfish tournament and maybe win the championship as well?
Listen, you never want to count out a Quantified.
They're the ones to look for that Zane Grey trophy, but look at the blue marlin. There are plenty out there. We'll have more reports this afternoon at 6 o'clock on Sport Fishing Championship.
A day out on the water could go great. Or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough. Or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about! Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.